A hooded figure battles a giant monster and easily defeats it. He looks at a symbol on his hand and says it's useless because there's no potential for growth. He has 3 out of 4 crests. The first is for creation, the second for power, and the third for rapid firing. He thinks that to become stronger, he needs to obtain the 4th crest, which is best for combat. A person's crest appears at birth and can't be changed, so the figure decides to reincarnate far into the future. A young boy stares at the 4 crest seal on his hand while riding with his father to the capital. His father praises him for preparing to take the exam at 12. The boy shares his determination to get stronger. Suddenly, he senses a monster approaching with his crest. He describes it to his father, who laughs it off. Based on his son's description, his father mentions that the monster would be a calamity grade, and to their surprise, it appears right in front of them. The boy manages to defeat it. They reach the capital, and the boy says goodbye to his father. He explores the city and goes into a shop that makes swords. He sees a young girl asking for her friend's magic sword to be remade, but the shop owner turns her away. The boy looks around and notices that while the swords are well crafted, the enchantments are poorly done. The girl pleads with the owner, explaining that the entrance exams are the next day and she needs the sword. The man tells her to find another place since he can't make an enchanted blade. He suggests one of the ready-made swords, but she describes her friend's sword in a way that makes it clear he can't help her. Watching them, the boy offers to take care of the enchantment, even though his 4th crest isn't ideal for it. The man calls it the crest of failure. The girl puts a magistone on the table and says she'll trust the boy, asking the man to make the sword while they leave the enchantment to him. As the man makes the sword, the girl introduces herself as Alma Lapucius. The boy introduces himself as Matthias Hildesheimer, or Maddie for short. Alma tells him about her friend who owns the sword being made. Just then, her friend Luri walks in and asks if Alma had any luck at this shop. She introduces Maddie to Luri. Alma explains that Maddie has offered to enchant the sword for them. Maddie and Luri are surprised to see each other, and Luri introduces herself as Luri Abendroth. Finally, the sword is done, and Maddie enchants it. He knows the only way to make the sword long and light enough for combat is to add enhanced fortitude and sunder steel. He does it effortlessly without even saying an incantation, and everyone is amazed. He hands the sword to Luri to try out, and when she drags it across the table, it slices the table in half. They freak out over how effective the enchantment is, but Maddie downplays it, saying it's just a standard enchantment. The shop owner asks Maddie if he'd like to work with him, but Maddie declines. The practical exams start, and the areas to be tested include swordplay and casting. Maddie is also taking the practical exam, and Luri meets up with him. Alma grumbles about doing well in every other subject except the tactics section, which she found challenging. Luri encourages them to collaborate to pass the test. While Luri is sparring with her opponent, she cuts through his sword with her weapon, forcing him to surrender. Next is Maddie's turn. His opponent knows him well and is aware he enchanted Luri's sword. Maddie faces the examiner directly, who expresses interest in seeing what his father, Castor, taught him. Maddie is surprised that the examiner knows his dad, and the examiner says he'll vouch for Maddie to pass, regardless of other test scores, if Maddie holds his own against him. They draw their swords, and Maddie notices the examiner's stance is wide open. He suspects the examiner might be going easy on him, which he finds a bit insulting since he believes the point of a test is to showcase his abilities. He charges at the examiner, who is stunned to see a young boy parrying his strike. They continue to duel until Maddie manages to knock the examiner's sword from his hands, shocking everyone, especially since it's the captain of the Knight's Order, Guile, who lost. The next exam is casting. Luri is the first called to take the test. She's instructed to hit all 5 targets with fire arrow. She recites the incantation and fires them one by one. Maddie notes that incanted casting is a method for casting spells through specific recitals. He considers it a skill anyone can use, but with a poor conversion rate for the user's magic power, making users vulnerable to attacks while chanting, which isn't great for combat. Luri has the Crest of Glory, the first crest highly compatible with incanted casting and seen as the best for magical combat. When it's Maddie's turn, he asks if fire arrow is the only allowed spell, and he learns it's not mandatory, but it's the most basic one. The examiner sees he has the 4th crest, known as the Crest of Failure, and tells him he might still pass if he does well in other subjects. Maddie checks if the goal is to destroy the targets from a long distance. He asks the examiner to stand a bit farther so he can create a magic circle without casting. He unleashes a massive flame that explodes in midair and scorches the ground, hitting the targets away. Maddie gets accepted into the school alongside Luri and Alma. He puts on his uniform, and it fits perfectly. During the opening opening ceremony, the headmaster speaks to them. He introduces himself as Edward and explains that at the first academy, formality counts, but at this second one, ability is everything. He tells Maddie to visit his office after the assembly ends. Maddie wonders why the headmaster wants to see him. When he arrives at Edward's office, Edward mentions he's sure there's a deeper reason behind someone Maddie's age being so powerful, even if having Castor as a father explains it a bit. Edward says he won't pry but asks for Maddie's help. He explains that wordless spells are an old casting style he hopes to revive at their academy, but what holds him back is their sister institution in the capital, the First Royal Academy. Edward wants Maddie to teach the school wordless casting to show the Royal Academy what they can do in the next inter-school competition. The instructors are thrilled as soon as Maddie agrees to help them. Maddie is introduced as the special guest instructor in the next class. He shows them wordless casting, and the students are surprised. The instructor tells them Maddie isn't the only one who can use wordless casting, so he introduces Mr. Geisel. Geisel demonstrates it too, but he isn't as accurate as Maddie. He mentions that Maddie's teachings helped him get that far in just a day, and the students start their training. Luri runs out of magic while practicing, so Maddie has her stretch out her palm while placing his palm on hers to transfer magic to her. She tries the wordless magic and succeeds. Maddie ends up teaching wordless casting to all the students, and after a month, the inter-school competition begins. Luri tells Maddie she hopes there aren't any magical chosen ones at the competition. She explains that every year, when it seems like the second academy might win, one of these chosen ones appears. Maddie senses one nearby with about 10 times his magic power, and Alma likens that power to that of a demon. She says demons are so strong that even court magicians working together probably couldn't defeat one. Maddie realizes that demons haven't been eradicated in this era. Maddie walks into the arena and faces Devilis, one of the magical chosen ones. If the First Academy wins this competition, it will mark their 65th consecutive win. Devilis has a crest of glory. Maddie suspects Devilis is a demon in disguise, and even has a fake crest to blend in with humans. The 65 Inter-Academy competition starts. Lysis and Giaz launch an attack, but get defeated by Maddie. Devilis sees this, and mistakenly casts a spell before starting his chant, shocking everyone. Maddie attacks him up close with his sword, sending Devilis flying backward. He casts another wordless spell, revealing himself to be a spell-casting demon pretending to use incantations. The demons have caused the decline in magic because they want human spells to be as weak as possible, and infiltrated the academy long ago to declare the Fourth Crest as the crest of failure. Devilis is shocked by Maddie's strength, and Maddie exposes his disguise, revealing his true demon form. The headmaster of the First Academy is taken aback at seeing Devilis's true form, and Edward orders the students to evacuate. Maddie cuts off Devilis's wings before he can escape, defeating him in the process. Maddie thought he had driven the demons to the brink of extinction in his previous life. He was Gaius the Sage. Now, Maddie knows there's a problem in this present time. Matthias is the third son of the Hildesheimer family. He is Gaius, who has reincarnated into this world. Maddie notices that what used to be the strongest crest is now seen as the weakest. Luri runs up to hug Maddie, saying she's glad he's safe. Alma approaches her and questions if she knows what she's doing, making Luri realize she acted on impulse. Maddie meets Edward and tells him that defeating a demon isn't that big of a deal. Edward replies that no one in history has ever taken down a demon on their own. They both meet with the king and go through the necessary formalities, with Maddie introducing himself. The king expresses his admiration for Maddie's defeat of the demon, stating that under normal circumstances, he would spread the news of Maddie's good deed far and wide and offer him an honorary position. However, doing so would reveal to the world that demons have infiltrated their ranks. Maddie thinks to himself that he doesn't want a high position, but rather seeks to grow stronger. The king considers giving him a magic sword with a double enchantment, mentioning that a blacksmith recently sold it to him. Maddie deduces that it's likely the spare enchanted weapon the blacksmith made. Maddie requests rights to all resources found in the kingdom's dungeons, and the king grants his wish, considering the reward settled. He informs Matthias that the 4 magical chosen ones in the kingdom have all disappeared, indicating that demons have been breaching the kingdom for centuries. The king mentions that it seems Maddie has pushed the demons away and asks if that means the threat has left. Maddie replies that if the unmasking made the magical chosen ones flee, it shows they no longer see value in maintaining the masquerade. Matthias predicts it will take the demons about 3 months to regroup and attack the kingdom. He tells the king they need to cover the entire kingdom with a barrier before then, and use a divine class artifact to create a permanent barrier. He advises the king to let them continue teaching wordless magic, leaving the king with no choice but to trust him. He appoints Matthias as the leader in the fight against the demons. Maddie gains unrestricted access to the kingdom's archives. As he looks around, he spots a sword found in an ancient ruin. He examines the magic pattern of the sword, and realizes it's one he forged in his past life. He picks it up and notices it's tougher than orichalcum, perfect for the barrier's core. He also sees a pendant from his past life that boosts experience point gains. Matthias walks around the training ground and sees the students improving at chantless magic. He is taking time to strengthen humanity before he can properly reinforce himself. Luri and Alma approach Maddie with news from the headmaster. He tells them he'll be heading into a dungeon to gather materials. Remembering that it's better to have a party in dungeons, he shyly asks if they want to join him. They question if they might hold him back, as they also aim to become stronger. Alma admits she's not great with swords but excels at archery. Maddie reassures her that bows are excellent for magical combat and demonstrates by infusing an arrow with magic. He encourages Alma to give it a try, telling her she has the Crest of Standard, which is perfect for magical archery. They both agree to join his party, hoping to learn more about enchantments. Maddie views the party as well balanced, with him on the front line, Alma supporting him from behind, and Luri providing backup from the rear. They head to a dungeon door beneath the academy. As they go in, Maddie explains how the environment and monster strength change from floor to floor, with the ground floor being the weakest. He picks a small monster for them to practice on, and teaches Alma how to infuse magic into her arrow. He shows her a trick that can help her alter her arrow's path in mid-air. This skill is called a thread-guided enchant. Magistones appear when monsters are defeated, and Maddie tells Alma to try taking down 2 monsters with 1 shot. Alma goes off to train while Maddie teaches Luri how to craft her weapons. He gives her some crude dungeon ore to make her weapon with, which she needs to refine to extract metal. After refining the ore, she gets pure clusters of iron and mithril to create her weapon. Alma can now take out 3 monsters at once with her arrows, so she decides to head back. When she returns, she's shocked to see how much progress Luri has made, breaking down walls with her enchanted swords. Maddie informs them they'll be going to the 10th floor to test their skills. On the 10th floor, they encounter several snail monsters. Luri tries to attack first with her wide-range fire spell, but it doesn't work. Alma comes up next with her arrow and manages to take all of them out. Alma and Luri make a great team, with Luri crafting arrows for Alma to shoot at the monsters. Maddie's pendant collects magic power from defeated monsters to boost the experience points earned by their group. Suddenly, they face a big killer dog, and Maddie warns them to be careful because these killer dogs are much stronger than the monsters they've fought so far. Luri and Alma team up and take down the killer dog. Maddie then suggests they set up camp, creating a barrier for a safe resting area. He infuses a magistone with his magic and tells them to rest while he goes down to a lower floor to get the adamantite he needs for the barrier. He mentions he'll head to the 25th floor, and Alma is surprised, pointing out that the deepest anyone has gone is the 23rd floor. She mentions that the only ones who have done it were the legendary 30-man party protected by Gaius, a divine being of magic. When Maddie hears her say his name, he wonders if it's a mistake. Maddie descends to the deeper floors and manages to find the rock containing adamantite. He senses a powerful monster nearby, known as the floor boss. He confronts the serpent that releases toxic fumes from its mouth. Maddie takes down the arc serpent, but it doesn't seem effective until he uses a trick. He shatters a magistone and gathers the shards onto his blade, using it to slice through the serpent. Even the demons on the other floor feel the impact. He walks back to join his party members and informs them that he has killed a monster. Maddie's party heads to a guild to sell the stuff they found in the dungeon, drawing a lot of attention just because they're students of the Second Academy. The attendant notices the crest of failure on Maddie's hand and assumes he's their temporary porter. Maddie presents the head of the arc serpent and asks to sell it. The attendant panics when she sees the massive snake head. He steps outside and surprises her by using a storage spell. He then pulls out a huge magistone for sale, which astonishes not just the attendant but his party members too. The attendant remarks that the magistone might be considered a national treasure. Maddie explains he obtained it by defeating the arc serpent, adding that it's not large enough for the barrier. The attendant expresses doubt about her guild being able to afford all this. They receive 750 gold, and Maddie proposes splitting the profits into 3 equal shares, although parties typically divide proceeds based on each member's contribution. Sensing something is off, Maddie tells the girls they need to return to the academy right away. The girls notice nearby magical energy and deduce that 2 demons are approaching the Second Academy. Ashril and Deshril, the 2 demons, arrive at the Second Academy with the intention of testing Maddie's courage after he defeated Devilis. Maddie feels the demon's strength and assigns the girls to handle the weaker one. The girls are nervous, knowing demons are powerful, but Maddie reassures them, and they agree to the plan. Ashril decides to start with a spell from above, but before he can finish, Maddie appears in front of him him and swings his sword at the demon. Maddie cannot hurt Deshril and realizes he needs enhancements to defeat him. Ashril shoots a fireball at Maddie, but he dodges it. Lacking much magical power, Maddie decides to take control of Ashril's spell. He uses the same fire against Ashril, but Ashril quickly shakes it off. Luri fires 2 enchanted arrows at Deshril to disrupt his magic and slow him down. Ashril tells Deshril to deal with the girls while he faces Maddie. Everything aligns with Maddie's plan. Ashril attempts a large-scale spell meant to obliterate Maddie's control spell, but just as he's about to cast it, Maddie targets the weak point of the spell and cancels it. They begin a sword fight, with Maddie overpowering Ashril quite easily. Ashril tries to use a flight spell, but Maddie has already gained full control over his casting. As Maddie charges in, Ashril reveals hidden casting at close range, and they continue to battle. Maddie utilizes an occlusion orb that knocks Ashril down. The demon gets back up and tries to cast a special spell to sacrifice his life for a horde of monsters, but Maddie seals it and defeats Ashril. Luri and Alma buy time by disrupting the demon's magic flow. Maddie steps in to end the fight using Light of Death magic. He casts a simple light spell that mimics the appearance of Light of Death magic since his magic level isn't high enough for the original spell. Deshril attempts to flee, but Maddie instructs Alma to shoot an arrow to disrupt him. He slices off the demon's wings and defeats him. The public is shocked to see the academy students take down 2 demons. Maddie grabs the girls and uses a movement spell to get them out of there. Maddie's group meets up with the king, who congratulates them and asks Matthias what he needs. Matthias asks for more dungeons, and the king agrees, promising to find as many as he can. He then asks Luri and Alma what they want. Both request money, with Alma saying you can never have too much. Maddie notices demons watching them, even though they aren't physically present. He calls out to a demon, but there's no reply. Using a spell, Maddie shocks the demon, forcing it to scream. The king recognizes the voice as Erhard, the former captain of the mage's order. Maddie explains that Erhard was eavesdropping through a fixed magical interface, and although he damaged it, he wasn't able to finish Erhard off. He describes a location in the palace and asks the king if there's anything special there since he felt a reaction when he destroyed the interface. The king tells him it's a village that was once destroyed by demons, leading Maddie to conclude it's their hideout. He suggests they visit the demons, but the village is so far away it would take 6 months to travel normally. Maddie's teleportation spell won't reach that far due to his crest. The headmaster orders the students to gather materials needed for the barrier, wanting them secured before Matthias and his team return. Maddie's party sets out to confront the demons. He takes them to an undisclosed location in the mountains to negotiate with Iris, the legendary darkness dragon. He tells them to wait while he goes to negotiate. Iris is one of the dragons that fought Gaius but surrendered early, so he let her go. She doesn't recognize Maddie and tries to attack, but he uses a disruption spell to stop her, catching her off guard. She's also surprised that he can speak to a dragon, and he tells her he's the reincarnation of Gaius. She apologizes, saying it was a big misunderstanding. He tells her he needs to slay some demons far away, and asks if she can take them there. Iris says she can't because of her damaged wings. He fixes her wings and asks her to keep his reincarnation a secret. He calls Luri and Alma forward to meet Iris. She picks them up and transports them. As they fly, Maddie asks her to go as fast as humans can handle, and Iris bases that speed on Gaius's old friend Reuter, the of swords. Maddie then tells her to drastically lower her speed. Maddie's party arrives at the village of demons. Maddie takes down the first demon he runs into. He senses 2 more demons. One is Erhard, and the other is stronger than Ashril. Iris struggles to land and crash lands since it's been so long since she last flew. As they enter the village, Maddie casts a telepathy spell to help them communicate through thoughts for better battle coordination. He tells both of them to handle the offense this time, and gives them a casting circle. Maddie orders them to stay put as soon as he detects the enemy using a concealment spell. He asks if there's anywhere that feels devoid of magic, and Luri senses a particular corner lacking magic. She complains about not finding the other demon, but Maddie tells her not to worry. Maddie uses a disruption spell to reveal Erhard while Alma shoots an arrow at him. Edward breaks the arrow, telling them that small arrows can't hurt a demon. He asks Maddie why he wouldn't attack him, and concludes he's the fake one since the real one was just at the capital and couldn't have reached the destroyed village that fast. Erhard charges at Maddie, who restrains him while Alma continues to shoot arrows. The arrows start to take effect, making Erhard feel sluggish. Erhard powers up and uses his demon ace move called Disfortune, sacrificing his lifespan for immense magic power and strength. He chases Luri and Alma to kill them, but ends up chasing an illusion created by Maddie. Alma delivers the final blow with her arrow, defeating Erhard. Maddie tells the girls to go back and wait for him outside with Iris. He heads further in to face the other demon himself. Maddie crushes 3 Magistones to release magic into the air. This creates a disturbance that forces the demons to show themselves. The demon warns warns Maddie that he's on a whole different level than Erhard, and Maddie replies that he knows but doesn't plan on dying. The demon attacks Maddie, and he defends himself. The demon slices off Maddie's right hand, which he used to hold his sword, and walks up to him. He tells Maddie he thinks it's over for him and says he'll show Maddie mercy by choosing how he'll die. Maddie says he doesn't plan on dying for at least thousands of years. After analyzing the situation, he reattaches his arm using a recovery spell. Maddie starts to attack the demon using the same toxin he used on Erhard. The demon activates the magic circuit overclock, which is similar to the Disfortune spell, but more advanced, with a lower chance of the demon dying. Maddie counters with a spell that nullifies the magic circuit overclock, forcing the demon to revert to mist. He tries a spell that turns anything it touches to mist, but Maddie cancels it. Maddie tells the demon that his earlier analysis gives him countermeasures. The demon explodes, revealing a dragon vein pillar. Dragon vein pillars are conduits of magic power that run through the earth. The spell carved into this pillar indicates the demon's plan to unleash a horde of monsters. They intend to tap into the dragon vein and generate the monster horde at the capital. The explosion Maddie forced the demon to experience shifted the spell 10 kilometers away from the capital, but they'll still need the Academy's help to dispel it. They head back to the capital, and Iris uses a spell to turn demons into humans. Maddie returns Erhard's horns to Edward, who mentions that his rewards might empty the king's treasury. Maddie then tells Edward he wants to discuss something else, whether he can accept Iris as a transfer student. Edward says he'll give her a chance, but she'll need to take the transfer exam and score at least a 47 out of 50. Maddie is confident the test won't be a problem for Iris, but he offers to watch just in case. Maddie leaves out the details about the dragon vein pillar and the monster horde he saw earlier to avoid causing panic. He decides he'll inform Edward after Iris's transfer exam. He applies a crest-like pattern on Iris's hand, similar to the first demon he fought in the arena. Iris fails the written exams and moves on to the practical exam. She faces Guile, the captain of the Knight's Order. As soon as they clash, Iris's sword falls to the ground. She rushes to retrieve it, but Guile warns her not to turn her back on the enemy. He attempts to strike, but she catches his sword with her bare hand and tells him to wait. Guile is surprised by her strength as she lifts him with his sword before knocking him away, sending him crashing into the roof of a tower. During the casting exam, Iris looks at the 5 targets and informs Edward that they're too small. She attacks one target, but it turns toward the people behind her, forcing Maddie to use magic to protect them. Iris tries again but misses, and her attack explodes in the air. On her 3rd attempt, Maddie already has his shield up around everyone, and this time, Iris blows up the entire ground. Maddie asks Edward for his verdict, and Edward calls Iris a bizarre girl before passing her. Maddie asks the principal how far along they are with the materials needed for the barrier. The principal tells him that they're moving slowly because they don't have enough crests of glory. He explains that most of the crests of glory in the kingdom are enrolled at the First Academy. Maddie suggests they reach out to the First Academy for help, but Edward explains it would be tough since the 2 academies don't get along. He assures Maddie that he'll ask the king to step in because their situation is serious. Edward summons the headmaster of the First Academy, as instructed by the king. The headmaster gets angry at Edward for calling him in, believing he's far superior to the headmaster of the Second Academy. He claims his school has more crests of glory, but Edward tells him to drop the act while they discuss the current issue. He explains it's about the barrier they're putting up over the kingdom to keep out demons. Edward asks the headmaster for crest of glory users to refine the ore, but the headmaster immediately refuses. He can't stand the idea of working with the Second Academy. Edward tells him it's time to reassess his views on the crest, since they proved themselves in the inter-school competition. The headmaster snaps back that the results were invalidated due to demonic interference. Edward reminds him that the demon was a student from his academy. Maddie proposes they redo the competition with the loser doing whatever the winner says. The headmaster agrees, but adds a condition that Maddie and his party members can't participate. Maddie is fine with that, and the competition is set to start in 2 days. He's determined to silence the First Academy once and for all. The First Academy is all in for the competition. Maddie had planned to send Iris in if any of the competitors seemed dangerous, but he doesn't sense any demons among them. The participants from the First Academy are their best Crest of Glory students, while the Second Academy is sending only 5 to compete against the many from the First Academy. When the competition begins, the First Academy students are still casting spells, but the Second Academy students quickly defeat them with their wordless casting. The headmaster of the First Academy refuses to accept the outcome, calling the Second Academy's candidates beasts. Edward reminds him that the king ordered them to switch to wordless casting and asks asks why the First Academy is still using incantations. The headmaster insists he must protect the kingdom's educational principles from pathetic crests of failure and mediocre crests of standard, stating he might even disobey the king's order to do so. The king, hearing this from above, questions whether he would dare such a thing and commands the royal guards to seize the headmaster. He orders the First Academy students to cooperate with the Second Academy to learn wordless casting and assist with the ongoing plan. Maddie and his party go to collect the magistone they need for the core of the barrier. They'll need one that's 60 centimeters long, and Maddie tells them it shouldn't be too hard to find. He mentions that since Iris is a dragon, she probably has a magistone over 80 centimeters, but he doesn't plan on taking hers. He explains that another way to obtain one is by summoning a monster. Alma and Lurie are taking down different wolves and making good progress, except for Iris, who struggles with her powers. The girls can't believe they're on the 17th floor. Iris mentions that someone she used to know reached the 654th floor. That was Maddie in his past life. Maddie tells Lurie to create a casting circle around the magistone while they summon the monster. He instructs Iris to infuse the magistone with magic slowly, as too much could be disastrous. Iris pours a lot of magic into the magistone quickly, and they end up summoning a monster that exceeds what the floor can handle. The monster could easily give them a 60-centimeter magistone. Iris launches the first attack, but it swats her away. Maddie asks if she can talk down the monster, and she insults the dragon by calling it a winged lizard and tells it to die. The dragon responds by saying it will kill her, and then starts attacking. Calling a dragon a winged lizard is extremely offensive. Maddie tells Iris to keep the dragon's attention while Alma shoots arrows at it. Maddie sets casting circles on multiple magistones. When the dragon notices Alma and Lurie, Maddie tells Iris to protect them, and she does so by punching the dragon in the face. The dragon slams Iris into the ground when she thinks she can block its attack from above. Maddie advises her not to block every hit. She mentions it's strange that the dragon hasn't used dragon's breath yet, and Maddie explains he's using magic to block it. Dragons have tough skin that can't be pierced by arrows and aren't vulnerable to the toxins Maddie used on the demons. Maddie considers telling Iris to transform into a dragon to battle this dragon, but it would be a heavy burden given her poor control over her powers. The method Maddie currently uses with the magistones and magic circles is the safest way to defeat the dragon. He instructs Iris to provoke the dragon into using its dragon's breath. Iris taunts the dragon, forcing it to use its breath attack. Maddie activates his magic, redirecting the dragon's breath to destroy the dragon with its own attack. Iris falls while trying to escape the dragon's attack, but Maddie saves her. The dragon is successfully defeated by its own attack, and they retrieve the magistone. Maddie asks Iris if she'd like to join their party officially, and she accepts, causing the girls to rejoice. At the school's training ground, Maddie rearranges the area to help Iris adjust to her human body. She runs on uneven terrain and falls hard. Maddie claims this will help her muscle memory. They start training with Iris running around with a shell on her head, while Alma tries to shoot it down. Lurie's task is to create gear for Maddie to boost her enchantments. Maddie teaches her how to layer different materials to form a blade, and she catches on quickly. They test the gear she made and discover it's incredibly powerful. Maddie hands Iris the spear Lurie crafted, and when she uses it on a giant boulder, it shatters into pieces. Maddie's party trains hard at the school's training ground, determined to leave the school if everything goes as planned. Edward speaks to the students from the First and Second Academies about starting the operation to shield the royal capital with a barrier. He mentions that Maddie will be busy with the barrier and wants the wordless casters to defend the capital. He urges them to give their all as they embark on the mission. They pick up signals of demons casting magic through their communication team, and Maddie informs them it's probably a demonic teleportation spell called Magiroad. The girls wonder if their plans were leaked to the demons, but Maddie dismisses the idea. He instructs Lurie and Alma to handle the situation, and they agree. Once they arrive at the scene, Alma reminds Lurie that Maddie said it indicates demons are coming when the magical energy starts rising. Maddie had already told Lurie to prepare special metal arrows for Alma to use against the demons, and she can decide on the spells to imbue them on her own. He emphasizes the importance of reading the situation quickly during live combat. Lurie crafts sturdy-looking arrows for Alma. A demon breaches their dimension, but Alma shoots it down with one of her enchanted arrows. She fires at another demon that appears, but it dodges. Lurie steps in with her sword and defeats it. They sense a magical surge from the capital and decide to return. Maddie mentions that the surge is what he expected. It's a more advanced version of Magiroad that sacrifices a demon for long-distance travel, likely the weakest of their group, since demons lack the spirit of self-sacrifice. Lurie asks Maddie what to do next, and he tells her the demons are probably going to show up above the Second Academy. He asks the girls to buy him some time as he hasn't finished the barrier. The two head out, and Maddie notices the girls are acting bolder than before. Iris meets up with Maddie and drops off 40 boxes of mithril. Alma and Lurie find Edward on the battlefield, and he shows them the magistones Maddie left for Lurie, so she doesn't have to worry about messing up. Suddenly, massive magic readings are detected above the academy, and a demon named Belias crashes into their dimension. He spots the students and the headmaster and launches a large-scale fire attack at them, but they counter with a defense spell. The Crest of Standards and Lesser Crests launch their attacks, but none reach Belias. The demon catches Alma's arrow before it hits him. Alma glances at Lurie, who is weaving complex enchantments, and asks her to buy more time. Belias unleashes a larger-scale attack and taunts them about their power disparity. Despite learning wordless casting, they hold their ground against Belias's spells. Lurie struggles repeatedly until she gives everything she has left with the last piece of Magistone. She creates an enchanted arrow that Alma fires at Belias. The arrow pierces through the demon's chest from behind, giving the students an opening for an attack. The others join in and take down Belias. Another demon appears, surprised to see them defeat Belias. Other demons descend from the sky and launch a large-scale attack on the students. The students attempt to defend themselves but fail. Alma stands up and vows to use her last arrow to buy time for Maddie. Lurie enchants the arrow while Alma gets ready to fire it. The demons talk among themselves about how they'll compete to see who can kill the most humans present. Maddie arrives and immediately slays one of the demons. He starts attacking the others, taking them down with the sword Lurie crafted for him earlier. Edward praises him for defeating the demons. Maddie has already finished digging the hole for the barrier, while Iris and the others handle the rest. Once they're done, Maddie adds the Magistone, and the barrier above the capital rises. He reminds them that they're not finished yet, as there are still plenty of monsters to take down due to the spell the demons set up before summoning them. Edward tells the students that the barrier will only protect the capital and not the surrounding towns, so they need to deal with all the monsters there. Many monsters charge towards the capital, but they end up falling into the traps and magic items set up by Maddie's team. The students from the second academy have become much stronger, and they can handle low-level monsters easily. Iris spots 3 large monsters, and Edward tells the students to fall back while Maddie and his party take over. The girls efficiently take down the monsters while Maddie focuses on a more powerful foe. A creature known as a Void Eater appears. It devours surrounding monsters to grow, and Maddie lets it absorb the monsters in the area. As the Void Eater nears completion, Maddie gives Lurie a pattern to carve into a Magistone for them to throw at the creature. Once the inscription is done, Lurie throws the Magistone at the Void Eater while Maddie tosses in some additional Magistones for it to consume. The monster takes shape, and Maddie tells the girls to let it attack as they usually would. Alma and Lurie shoot arrows, while Iris targets the monster's feet, and Maddie jumps in to strike. He stabs at its eyes and uses a special magic enchantment to sever its legs, but the monster regenerates its legs instantly. Maddie continues attacking with all his enchantment spells, and casts a spell that lasts until either he or the monster runs out of magic. This spell keeps launching attacks at the creature, piercing various parts of its body until it lowers its head. Maddie slashes its neck and successfully defeats the monster. He decides to check out dungeons outside the capital this time, leaving the academy to survey dragon veins. The next day, Edward offers Maddie a scholarship at the school so that it can benefit from his accomplishments, while also making it easier for the school and nation to help if he gets into trouble. Maddie accepts the offer. Lurie hears he's leaving the school and feels sad. The headmaster offers scholarships to the rest of the party if they want them, and they agree. A boy on a wagon sees Maddie's party members as they're traveling on the road. He asks if they're adventurers, and they confirm it. The party is headed toward the Melkia dungeon, which is a huge dungeon with hundreds of floors. Iris and Maddie are surprised to learn that there are cities built over dungeons these days, as there was nothing like that ages ago. If they go around the forest of Chikirasubia, it'll take them several days to reach Melkia from their current location. However, cutting through the forest will get them there in about half a day. The forest is filled with monsters, and rumors say there's a clever monster that has been appearing there lately. The idea of a smart monster sparks Maddie's curiosity, and he decides they should go through the forest. Lurie and Alma feel uneasy about it, but Iris reassures them that she can always fly them out if needed. Maddie reminds her that her wings are still healing, so she can't fly very well. They decide to take a short break in the forest, and Maddie goes off to hunt some game for them to eat. As soon as he leaves, he senses a bunch of monsters' magic signatures following him. The monsters move in a surprisingly organized way, as if they're being commanded. Maddie spots a restrained magic signature among them, and suspects it belongs to the smart monster. The smart monster attacks Maddie, and he manages to bring it back with him as his catch. Lurie identifies it as a wisdom monkey, known for being particularly smart. He then takes out a bull-like monster for them to prepare a meal. Luri refines some iron from the ground to make a pot and other cooking tools, while Iris decides to chop some firewood. Alma volunteers to gather local plants for soup. After enjoying their delicious meal, they continue their journey. Maddie mentions that he thinks the forest monsters are too scared to approach them because Iris is a dragon and Maddie defeated the Wisdom Monkey. They take advantage of this to make it to Melkia before sundown. When they arrive at the dungeon city of Melkia, the party notices that the place is quieter than they expected. They come across a magical lamppost but see something odd about the way the magic flows. Normally, magical equipment runs on magistones, but this lamppost seems connected directly to the dragon's vein in a careless manner. Someone warns them to stay away from it since it has caused the deaths of at least 10 people from explosions this year. Just then, the lamppost explodes again. Luri talks to the store owner and asks why they're making something like that. He explains that they're following the Lord's orders. The king has stopped them from using magistones, claiming they are their most valuable export. Maddie asks if the new king is the reason for the town's lack of activity, and the store owner confirms it. He informs the party that a powerful monster appeared around the 10th floor, and most adventurers were sent in at the king's command. Maddie buys 4 apples for himself and his party members before they head to the guild. On the way, he notices the poor quality of equipment in the area. Before they can enter the dungeon, they need to get a permit from the guild. Maddie's party heads to the guild, where the attendant advises against getting a permit. She tells them that the permits aren't issued by the guild but directly by the king, and they'll have to follow whatever the king decides as long as they're in Melkia. Dungeon exploration and monster hunting missions happen once a month and often lead to many injuries. Maddie applies for 4 permits, and immediately, a lady rushes in screaming about a huge number of injuries from a monster attack, saying they're struggling to keep up. She asks if anyone knows healing spells, and Maddie raises his hand. They're taken to a place filled with a lot of sick people. He realizes that the city can't even afford a temporary fix in a dungeon city crowded with adventurers. He asks why there are so few healers, and he learns that they used to have many staff, but the king pushed them all out because he saw them as a waste of money. Maddie tries to heal a man, but an authoritative figure stops him. The man questions Maddie about what he's doing, but Maddie keeps going with the healing. He heals the man in front of him and tells his party members and the people nearby to follow his orders. Starting with the most critical cases, he instructs them to cast healing spells in order of urgency. Maddie uses a healing type best suited to the crest of failure to close blood vessels to stop the bleeding, heal the damaged organs, and then seal the wounds. He tells everyone that if they work together, they can save all of the injured, and they succeed in healing everyone. Maddie asks about the previous king, having heard that he was competent but was replaced by a completely incompetent king. He's told that the previous king died suddenly in his sleep without explanation. The current demonic changes led to cities being built over dungeons, and because of this, Maddie suspects the previous king was killed by demons and that the current king might be a demon too. At night, Maddie writes a letter to the headmaster to pass along to the king. He writes a fake letter about homework first, and hides the real letter in a false bottom of the delivery box to keep it safe from inspection. Alma asks if it wouldn't be faster for him to deliver the letter personally, and he agrees but wants to see what happens in the dungeon first. He tells them to rest well while they check out the dungeon the next day. Maddie and Luri have trouble sleeping since it's their first night out together. Iris and Alma sleep soundly while the two of them count monsters to fall asleep until daybreak. The next morning, Maddie tells Iris that she almost used her dragon's breath in her sleep earlier, which could have blown the inn away. They arrive at the dungeon gate, which is just iron something a monster could break through easily. Iris opens the door, and they all go in. Iris defeats a powerful monster, and they take its head back to the guild. The attendant is shocked to see the head of the powerful monster from the previous day lying in front of her. She asks how they did it, and Maddie says they did it the normal way, but that he didn't get involved this time. She tells him she can buy it, but they won't get paid right away since the king has to confirm it first. The woman writes her report, and Maddie uses projection magic to see what she's writing. He sees that she notes 3 girls as beasts, and him as a healer. She concludes that he didn't participate in the battle because he's a healer. Maddie asks if he can get gold for the rest of the monsters, and the attendant is surprised there are more. The party uses part of the reward to treat themselves to dinner. On their way home after dinner, Maddie notices some men following them. He realizes that the king has been spurred into action and is determined to unmask the men. Maddie takes a detour to the inn. He uses a telepathy spell to talk to the girls and calms them down, revealing that the king's thugs are following them. He tells them to cast a concealment spell and keep an eye on the people tailing them to gauge their reactions. If they seem hostile, the girls should take care of them. They appear in front of the stalkers and act lost. The stalker gives directions to their inn and realizes they've messed up. The stalkers try to capture Maddie and go along with their game. Alma asks what the men want from them. The leader shares what he knows, mentioning that Maddie is the party's healer. He laughs, saying they will be serving their lord from now on. Maddie tells Iris not to use weapons and just to knock them out, and she follows his advice. While the stalkers are unconscious, Maddie places a demon-detecting tracking spell on all of them, suspecting they're in touch with demons. The next morning at the inn, Maddie receives a letter from the king and asks his crew to follow him outside. They meet Ake in a safe spot where the king won't notice. Ake brings a response to Maddie's letter about the king of Melkia's exploitation of the dungeon city. He informs Maddie that under the king's orders, Lord Dokiel Melkia should be arrested and placed under the supervision of royal proxy Ike. Maddie and the girls plan to arrest Dokiel Melkia. He tells Elk that he's already cast a tracking spell on Dokiel's minions and knows where he is located. Dokiel is at a heavily guarded estate on the town's edge. Elk asks if he should call for the knight's help, but Maddie believes they can handle it themselves. They arrive at the estate only to find the gate closed during the day, which feels off. Maddie uses magic to sense the life signatures inside and deduces that the king is tightening security. Elk wonders if they might have caught wind of their plans, and Maddie agrees. Elk suggests retreating, but Maddie insists on moving forward. They enter the house and get attacked by the king's minions, but Lurie blocks their attacks. Maddie asks her to leave the rest to him and uses electricity to take out all the guards in the building. The king's room is on the second floor, but Maddie senses no one upstairs. Everyone's in the basement. He locates a hidden entrance to the secret basement where frames are hanging and opens the stairs leading down. King Dokiel Melkia notices it's gone quiet everywhere and asks his attendant if the intruders have been dealt with. He's told that they would have heard if the intruders were defeated. Dokiel doesn't believe his men could have been dispatched so easily, but asks to take the secret passage to the surface as a precaution. Maddie walks in and interrupts him. Surprised to see a kid in the basement, Dokiel asks his attendant about Maddie. Maddie introduces himself and calls in his party members. Dokiel tries to ambush Maddie with his men, but Maddie knocks them all out. Royal Proxy Elk arrests Dokiel Melkia, who warns them they'll pay if something bad happens to him. Maddie knocks him unconscious while Elk takes him back to the capital for questioning. Maddie mentions he has other business to attend to, like figuring out how they knew about their raid. He spots a letter on Dokiel's table revealing the decision to arrest him, and they wonder where it came from. Maddie notices faint traces on the letter and tracks it back to a demon. He concludes that demons are after the dragon vein in the dungeon, as the one there is much larger than the one in the capital. Elk rushes to report this to the capital, but an earthquake interrupts them. Maddie informs them that the demons have started tampering with the dragon vein. They realize the demons have unleashed a monster horde heading their way based on the magical signature. Maddie insists they must get the demons far from the dragon vein immediately, because all of Melkia will be at risk if they aren't stopped. They have 2 hours to dive into the dungeon and resolve the situation, which is how long it'll take the demons to reach Melkia. In the dungeon, everything feels empty, like a trap has been set. Maddie gives Iris a spot to dig that will lead them to the dragon vein. Lurie notices a demonic aura around the dragon vein, and Maddie explains that the demons rigged it up a long time ago and are now trying to add the finishing touches. Lurie asks if they can stop whatever the demons are doing, and Maddie suggests splitting into 2 teams. While he goes to the floor where the demons are hiding to confront them, they will stop whatever the demons are trying to use the dragon vein for and restore it to normal. He tells Lurie to lead her team, since he has already set up a communication circle linked to the dragon vein with limited range. The party can communicate from anywhere in the dungeon. Maddie keeps in touch with Lurie, who is working to restore the dragon vein. He warns her to be careful, as one wrong move could blow up the town. Maddie is taking down demons, and with an hour left until the demon horde arrives, he faces the demon manipulating the dragon vein. He suspects the demon is using a communication spell too, so he taps into it with magic align. He hears the other party telling the demon that Maddie isn't the one disrupting his spell. They suspect Lurie is the disruptor. The demon is ordered to destroy Maddie and finish off Lurie. The boss tells the demon to fight cautiously and not underestimate Maddie. They exchange attacks, with the demon deflecting Maddie's first strike using a barrier that explodes upon impact. The demon is instructed to finish Maddie off before he can break the barrier, since a prolonged fight would put him at a disadvantage. Maddie tells Lurie to prepare casting circles 14 and 17, while he and the demon continue battling. The demons have a plan that's best suited to fight the Crest of Failure by attacking from a distance. After dodging all the demon strikes, they move to the second stage, which involves traps. Maddie pretends to be lured into the trap. He asks Lurie to activate the 14th casting circle first to nullify the traps, and then activate the 17th one, which uses the dragon vein to disrupt communications in the area. The demons lose their communication, and Maddie keeps firing attacks at the demon's barrier. He charges in to use his sword and break break through it. As the demons regain their communication, Maddie suspects the demon giving the orders is an old one, because it knows about his past life. The demon is commanded to use Disfortune, but Maddie dodges all its attacks and defeats it. The monsters heading for Melkia start to vanish because Luri has restored the dragon vein. Their next task is to find out who's been giving the orders. The demon taps into their communication spell and informs Maddie that he won't be able to trace him back. Maddie detects the magic coming from a few kilometers away in a town called Alania. He suspects it's a decoy. Iris asks Maddie if they're looking for the demon's leader's hideout, and he confirms her question. They want to know how they'll do it, and he explains that the enemy thought they could block their ability to find him by cutting off the relay in Alania. However, the transmission spell still carries a trace of the caster's magic signature. Maddie recorded that signature in a magistone, but will need a device from thousands of years ago to trace the enemy through the magistone and pinpoint his location. Maddie is about to reveal that he's Gaius when Iris coughs, and he gets back on track. The device is at the Rodinia Alliance, and with the king's help, they can cross the border smoothly. For now, they head back to the capital. Iris complains as the group leaves her to eat. The party reaches the capital and heads to the second academy. When they arrive, they notice their school building is gone and wonder why. The headmaster, Edward, meets them and informs them that they are rebuilding the school to make the walls thicker and erecting a barrier to withstand demon attacks. He says that classes are being held at the first academy while the students help with construction. In Edward's office, Maddie tells him there's another demon pulling the strings in the dungeon city, and they'll need to cross the border to find him. Edward asks which border, and Maddie replies it's the one with the Rodinia Alliance. Edward says he'll make a recommendation and seek their guild's cooperation, as he believes the king would prioritize it with the demons involved. He warns them that not all alliances are friendly. Maddie offers to help with the school construction while they wait for permission to travel. The headmaster appreciates the offer, but they all feel uneasy as soon as Iris suggests helping. Outside the office, Maddie and Luri come up with ideas to make the building materials more efficient. Iris tries to help but trips, and the iron pipe she holds damages part of the building. The king grants them permission, and Edward gives them their border crossing permit. He hands them the king's voucher for the Rodinia Alliance, and they head out. This is the first time Luria and Alma have left the Eyes Kingdom, and they're curious about the Rodinia Alliance. A major issue they'll face on their journey is that entry into the region with the device they need is heavily restricted. The magical signature there is so strong that they're worried a magical disaster will occur. Maddie shares what the headmaster told them, explaining that the only way to enter is to increase their adventurer rank, with at least an A rank needed for restricted areas. To level up, they need to go to the Rodinia Adventurers Guild and complete their ranking test. If the test takes too long, they could try other tactics, like making a dark dragon appear above the restricted region as a distraction to reach their goal. Upon arriving at the Rodinia Alliance, Maddie tells them to go to the guild first. They meet a man who immediately recognizes them. He explains that the King of Ice Kingdom has asked their guild for assistance, encouraging cooperation as the demons become more active. Maddie requests to take the Ascension test to achieve A rank as quickly as possible. Normally, he'd have to start from G rank and work his way up, but he's allowed to skip to the A rank test. The test includes a mock battle with a prearranged proctor, who is Giluas. Maddie notices Giluas has a high magical signature, strong enough that he could be mistaken for a demon. Giluas is a rank S adventurer who only cares about fighting. The original proctor ran away, so Giluas volunteered to take over. Although no one has ever passed a test run by Giluas, Maddie decides to go ahead and take the test. Before the test starts, Giluas tells the girls they've passed and should go home, while he signals Maddie to fight him one-on-one. Giluas has heard of Maddie, the famous hero from the Eyes Kingdom. He's a combat prodigy who has never lost a one-on-one fight. The evaluation exam begins, and Maddie asks for the rules. Giluas explains that the match ends when one of them is knocked out or surrenders. He tells Maddie he doesn't use magic. He relies solely on his sword. When Giluas draws his sword, Maddie notices he has a physique enhancement spell. They clash, and Giluas utilizes physique and enhancement spells, although he's not aware of it. They stand toe-to-toe. Giluas requests Maddie not to hold back, and when Maddie does, Giluas quickly adapts to him, copying Maddie's moves after just one exchange. Maddie points out a flaw in his attack and strikes back with greater force. Giluas tries to parry but ends up crashing into a wall. Maddie follows up, sword pointed at him, but Giluas concedes. This is the first time Giluas has lost a fight, so he asks Maddie how to become as strong as him. Maddie hands him a book he wrote to help improve his spellcasting knowledge. Giluas attempts to read the book but doesn't understand it. Maddie decides not to take the S rank test, even though he'd be the strongest in the land. He tells Giluas they only need need the A rank to enter the restricted area, the Atelis Plains in the Folkia region. Jaluas mentions he's heard that the atmosphere in the region has changed a lot lately, and checkpoints have become unexpectedly stricter, with parties going missing on their way there. On their way to the Atelis Plains, they reach a checkpoint where they receive passes that will be valid for the main road after their documents are checked. The girls think the process was easy, but Maddie shows them the magical code inscribed on the passes. He explains that the coding tech matches that of the demons, implying all of Folkia might be under demon control. Looking ahead, they spot visitors who've come to take them out before they reach the city. Maddie decides they should put everyone to sleep instead of taking them down to avoid a scene. He tells Luri and Alma to position themselves behind the enemies and use a magic item to put them to sleep, while he and Iris draw their attention. Maddie casts a spell to create illusions. When the attack begins, Maddie and Iris block all the arrows aimed at them. One arrow bounces off Iris's body, making her angry enough to attack, but Maddie stops her. He deflects more arrows and tells her not to create a ruckus. Luri and Alma activate the magic item behind the enemies, putting them to sleep. Luri and Alma fall asleep because of the magical item, but Maddie nullifies its effects and wakes them up. Luri feels embarrassed and apologizes to Maddie for dozing off. Iris has drawn ink all over Alma's face, and Alma gets angry while Iris denies it. Maddie advises them to check the effect range of the magical item before using it next time. When they arrive in Folkia, the place feels creepy, resembling a demonic magical structure filled with over 30 faint signatures scattered around. Maddie tells Luri that their feelings of smallness might be because something is concealing them. Folkia is crawling with demons, and while typical demons usually don't work in groups, demidons are different. Demidons are a rare offshoot of the demon race. They can't use spells but team up to fight. Maddie warns the girls that if the demidons control the city, it's a troubling situation. They decide to sneak in through a hidden passage for demons that Maddie knows about. This passage leads them to the city center and resembles the city's sewer system. While they walk, Maddie's detection spell picks up a demon ahead. They wonder what to do, and Maddie says they'll just walk past it. He casts a stupefaction spell to temporarily dull the demon's senses as they pass by. In the city center, the townspeople are in a trance. Maddie notices some strange magical signatures, so he grabs a random person from the street to check what spell was cast on him. He tells the girls it's called thought paralysis, a type of stupefaction spell. Soon, all the townspeople line up to enter a factory where a demon is casting the thought paralysis spell on them. Maddie explains they need to go inside to find out what's happening and casts a defense spell ahead to nullify the thought paralysis spell. They pretend to be affected and are allowed inside. The factory appears to be refining ore with advanced equipment on a larger production scale. Maddie identifies the rock being collected as rankine magical ore, which can be used in explosives when refined. A ton of this stuff could blow up an entire kingdom, but it would take decades to gather that much. Seeing a company like this producing on such a scale, Maddie wonders if there's a powerful demon with extensive magical technology knowledge behind it. Luri asks what they should do now, and Maddie says the factory is too dangerous to leave standing. The thought paralysis could harm the human brain over time, leaving them no choice but to take down the demons. The 32 demidons are scattered around the city center, and there's a low chance they'll disperse. Maddie plans to use the demons' teamwork against them. At night, the demons notice an unknown magical signature in Area 51. They quickly transform into their demon form. Realizing it's a massive signature, they are instructed to locate and eliminate the source immediately and surround Area 51, but they don't see any sign of the enemy. They gather in the area and encounter Iris. While the demons focus on Iris, Maddie starts taking them down from behind. The demon leader watches from a distance, confused about what's happening. Maddie plans to mask Iris's huge magical signature when they first enter the city, then unmask it all at once. The demidons gather around her as he waits in the wings. Luri and Alma's job is to scatter any clustering demons. Luri, Alma, and Maddie need to stay hidden and take out the demons one by one. While the demons continue to chase after Iris, Maddie informs Luri and Alma of their arrival and throws magistones infused with a simple explosion spell at them. This distracts the demons, allowing Maddie to take them out from behind. Demidons always stay connected through shared consciousness, which lets misinformation spread quickly among them. The demons think the town is rigged with traps, so they're ordered to stay put and use detection spells to find them. Maddie tells Luri and Alma to use conceal magic to avoid detection. When the demons don't find any traps or intruders, they keep moving, and Maddie and his group continue to take them out throughout different parts of the city. The demon leader notices something, checks the body of one of the dead demons, finds 2 magical signatures, and realizes the demon wasn't killed by an explosion but by a sword. He concludes that someone is hiding and attacking them. He announces this to the other demons, and Maddie tells the girls they'll have to confront the remaining demons directly. The demon leader is ready to cleanse the city of intruders, even if it costs them half the city. As one of the demons volunteers to grab the magic crystals from the factory, Giluas takes him out. Maddie senses Giluas's magical signature and sees him taking down some demons, leaving only the leader. The leader believes Giluas has been responsible for the killings all along, so he charges at Giluas with his swords. Maddie eliminates 2 of the demons around Giluas, and Iris takes down the remaining 4, leaving just the boss. Giluas and the boss demon continue their battle, with Giluas using a magic spell to destroy the monster. Luri casts a healing spell on Giluas, and the demon stands up again with red eyes, trying to attack them, but Maddie blocks the attack. The demon's magical signature gets even stronger, and he receives a message from the demon he talked to earlier, saying it will soon break the seal and come back completely. The demon then turns to dust, and Maddie tells the girls that someone was using strong magic to animate the corpse, but the body couldn't handle it. The only one capable of such a feat is the big boss controlling the demon in the Melkia dungeon. The commotion pulls the crowd to the town center. Giluas steps forward to address the humans, introduces himself, and takes full control of Fokia under the Emergency Authorization Act. This act lets a high-ranked adventurer temporarily take over when the town leader is absent. After looking for someone in charge, he meets the foreman and appoints him as the provisional lord of Fokia. Maddie and his party members receive a guild permit from Giluas that allows them to access Fokia's restricted area. He tells them he has to return to his training, as he can't keep almost dying every time he faces a single demon. Maddie and the girls head to the device they were originally after. The building looks like it comes from an ancient magical super civilization, and Alma wonders what kind of technology they used to build it. The ruin is one that Maddie created in his past life, and when they reach the top, Maddie tells Iris the device is inside. They notice there's no entry point, so Iris asks if she can break in since her powers are back. Maddie says she can't break through. He made it from tough materials. Luri confirms this, and Maddie tries to cover by saying Iris might damage it if she attacks with all her strength. He explains that the right way to open it is by infusing the pyramid with magical power. They follow his lead, and it automatically opens up. They all cast an enhanced physique spell before jumping down since there's no staircase. While Maddie prepares the device for activation, he tells them to look around for anything useful, as there might be old weapons or treasure scattered about. Luri finds a sword that Maddie made during an all-nighter high. The sword was only designed to look cool, nothing more. Alma discovers a spear that's too heavy for her to carry, and Maddie tells her that Iris has enough magical power to wield it, but it could be tricky to control. Iris finds preserved foods from the ancients, and when she opens them, the smell knocks her out. The device is fully activated, and Maddie puts a part from the refinery in Fokia to analyze it so they can track down who supplied the refining tech to the demons. It reveals data from the magical analysis, and Maddie spots a demonic signature. Just as he suspected, this signature matches that of the demon giving orders to the demon in the dungeon city. Maddie believes this demon is crafting a plan to defeat all of humanity. He uses the magical signature from the dungeon to figure out the demon's location. Everything turns red when Maddie uses the machine, and he discovers that the seal is about to be lifted. The girls ask Maddie if he's strong enough to reset the seal, and he informs them about Zardius, stating that basic skills won't work against him, and they can't defeat him in their current state. Maddie tells the girls they might have a shot at beating him if they use an immortality spell and train for 100 years. Iris mentions they might have a better chance if they had stronger weapons, prompting Maddie to analyze a sword. He searches for more items with magical signatures that match those in the ruins, so they can use powerful magic items from other parts of the world against him. All the weapons Maddie forged in his previous life have been scattered across the world, so he looks for the magic sword and finds it in the capital kingdom of Eyes. Maddie and his party fly to Eyes, where he gives Alma and Luri a magistone each that he designed to react to the specific magic sword. Zardius appears to have completely broken the seal and immediately starts coming after them. Maddie tells the girls to find the magic sword quickly while he holds off Zardius. Academy students notice a strange magical signature and suspect that Maddie is approaching. They look up and see Luri and Alma falling from the sky while tracing the sword to the castle's treasury. After landing, they take the quickest route to the castle. Maddie prepares his first attack for Zardius and waits for him to arrive. Zardius is currently moving through a space reserved for demons, similar to the transportation spell used by demons to attack the capital. Maddie decides to seal the space before Zardius arrives to buy himself some time. As Zardius opens the space, Maddie attempts to seal it but fails, leaving him with no choice but to fight Zardius. He instructs Iris to shoot one dragon's breath and then pull back, believing her presence alone should keep Zardius in check. Zardius faces the dragon's breath attack head-on without a scratch. He draws his sword and launches an attack at Iris. Iris dodges with Maddie's multi-layered defense helping her. He then immediately targets Maddie. Luri and Alma reach the treasury. Just as they're about to burst past the guards blocking their way, the king meets them, and they explain the situation. He grants them immediate access. Zardius is so fast that Maddie can't keep up with all his attacks, and with Maddie's chances of victory dwindling, he decides to sacrifice his life to win the battle. Luri and Alma keep searching for the sword, and Luri finds it inside a blue box. As soon as she opens the box, she feels an incredible magical power inside. She picks it up, and they rush towards Maddie. Zardius tells Maddie he's foolish for thinking he could buy time with such weak power. He launches a long-range attack over the entire capital, forcing Maddie to cast a defensive spell to protect it. Zardius realizes Maddie is preparing to resist him inside the barrier. He knows his subordinates can't enter the capital as long as the barrier is up. He asks Maddie what he plans to do about the monsters that were already inside when the barrier went up. Ashril and Deshril appear again in front of the girls. This time, they take them down easily, but Ashril then shows up in front of them. He demands they surrender their weapons, threatening to kill 2 classmates he has as hostages if they don't comply. Maddie senses the demonic signatures within the barrier, and Zardius informs him that he resurrected the bodies of the demons stored in the capital, magically ordering them to attack Maddie's companions. Zardius unleashes another attack on the barrier, overpowering Maddie's defensive spell. Maddie chases the attack and deflects it elsewhere. Zardius tells him that he can't fully utilize his power because he keeps protecting the weaklings. He urges Maddie to set everything aside and show him what humanity's strongest can do. The boys taken hostage tell the girls not to worry about them and to take Ashril down. Ashril questions the girls about their willingness to watch the boys die, leading them to surrender their weapons. Maddie hopes that Alma and Luri have found the sword, knowing that if it doesn't reach him in time, nothing will stop humanity's destruction. Zardius asks Maddie what else he plans to do now that he's lost hope of winning. Maddie refuses to give up, determined to use his remaining life and magic to activate the reincarnation spell into the next era, where Zardius's power will be somewhat weakened. He sharpens his magical combat skills and plans a comeback, not wanting to let the girls down after they've trusted him. Maddie begins his counterattack, and Zardius calls him a fool. As Ashril tries to grab the weapons, the headmaster and students attack him from above. Luri frees the boys who were held hostage while Alma shoots her arrow at Ashril. The students also launch the demon counterattack tactics they practiced, securing Ashril while Luri and Alma continue their mission. Maddie channels his life energy into his magic to boost his combat potential. He uses it as a last resort to hold out until Luri and Alma arrive. Just as Luri throws the sword to Maddie, Zardius stabs him in the back, driving the blade into his body. All hope seems lost as Maddie collapses to the ground. Luri screams his name, tears streaming down her face. The stone on his sword glows, and he starts to rise. Zardius is shocked to see Maddie still alive after piercing his heart. Maddie reveals that's what activated the sword's ability. They attack each other again, but this time Maddie wields the sword that symbolizes the peak of his skills from his past life. Its activation requires the wielder's life to be sacrificed, which then revives the wielder with an immense surge of magic. Maddie becomes faster than before and barely controls his current magic. He tells Zardius that his body doesn't matter this time, since he can simply animate it with magic once he's done. Zardius is shocked because he thinks no human should have such skill. He asks Maddie who he really is, and Maddie replies that he's the strongest sage with the weakest crest. Maddie then ends Zardius with one final slash. Before Zardius disappears, he warns Maddie that he's not the only chaos demon in the world, and that the next demon will surely destroy him. When it's all over, Luri rushes to hug Maddie, telling him she's scared to see him die. The headmaster and others inform the party that the other students have dealt with the demon in the barrier, and there have been no casualties. Maddie tells them they will need to repair the damage they caused. He expels the magic power from the sword, as it is a one-use magic sword. The next day, Maddie and his party meet with the king, and Luri thanks him for granting them access to the treasury the other day. The king replies that no thanks are necessary since the kingdom was in danger, and he was just doing his duty to save it. As a reward for their deeds, the king grants them titles and lands. Since Matthias doesn't want a title and prefers to live as an adventurer, the king gives him the very sword Luri took and invites him to take anything he likes from the treasury. At the treasury, Maddie finds an adamantite alloy arrow he made in his past life, along with a matching bow. He asks for the bow, but is told it was deemed useless due to rust. The guard informs him it was sold to the ISIS Company, the largest shop in the area and the main buyer of scrap metal from the palace. They go there and ask for the bow, only to discover it had been melted down into a block of metal, mixed with various other metals, because they couldn't identify it. Maddie considers separating them to obtain rare metals. He decides to buy all the blocks and have them sent to his inn. On their way out, Edward meets them and says there's an emergency. They meet with Guile, captain of the Knight's Order. Even though Maddie has been briefed by the headmaster on his way, Guile tells him he received a report of an attack 2 days ago near the border with the Hill Empire. The attack was carried out by 300 puppets in front of him. Maddie analyzes the situation and notes that the magic circle is complex, and the wood isn't ordinary. He checks and discovers that the puppet is powered by human life energy, meaning it's stealing small amounts of life energy from many humans at once. The only one who could do this is a demon. Guile asks Maddie for his help once again for humanity's sake, and Maddie agrees.